Alright, so I'm back, and today we're going to talk about Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back. So this is the same thing where it's got the first disc is the Lucas version, as I'm going to call it, and disc 2 has the original version. And this one, honestly, it added some extra scenes in it. None of which really detract from the story. Yeah, there's some scenes where things are kind of extra things are going on in the background. But they increased the scene with the snow monster thing on Hoth, which was good. I think it needed to be increased a little bit. It was rather quick and brief originally, so I'm okay with it being increased in this one. But most importantly, though, in the original version of this film, they didn't have the actor to play the Emperor in this one. They had the Emperor in the movie, but I think they put a cloak around a toy monkey or something like that. I can't remember the full story, but it was something stupid, and they put it in the shadows and said that was the Emperor, and it worked. But the fact that they got the actor that played the Emperor, which was probably pretty easy for them because he was actually playing the Emperor in the prequel trilogy as well. Probably, again, the best part of the prequel trilogy was Emperor Palpatine. Darth Sidious and all that. And so they actually edited him into this movie to have an exchange with Vader, which was absolutely great. I really liked that. It really added to the story. Unlike Episode 4, where the bonus scenes took away from the story because you're sitting there like, wait, that doesn't make any sense. This one actually made more sense. So it was really good. And, so this is Empire Strikes Back. I mean, everyone says this is the best one of the series. I slightly tend to disagree, and we'll get into that with the next review. But really, this is one of those movies where there's not anything in this movie that I would change. In the Lucas version, anyway, because he added that scene in, and that would be the only thing I would change in the theatrical version. And quite honestly, had he not done that, it wouldn't really take too much away from this movie because it was that good without that scene. I mean, this is like the definition of one of the greatest sci-fi flicks of all time. I mean, it really shined as a great story, told very well, paced very well in this one. We already had the introduction to the characters. The main difference in this one is like Han and Leia. They're off on an adventure on their own. So now we get to see that exchange in between them and see how well they're coping with being together, and being friends and stuff. You also, Luke is going on a quest to get more training. And the Imperial Walkers, oh my god. That was the first time I ever seen anything like that in a movie. And I was like, holy shit, those things are the coolest I've ever... I love those things. I always called them the dog walkers, those things. I don't know if that's actually what they're called, the Imperial Walkers. But I always called those the dog walkers, and the ones in the Return of the Jedi chicken walkers, because they only had the 2 legs. But these things are just incredible. I loved them. They really... like the beginning of the movie was kind of interesting until they hit the fan, and it's like, oh my god, this is great. And then Luke goes off and does his own thing, and, it's like... That's where the story starts slowing down, but it's got the dialogue that makes it work. And then Han and Leia are all over there, tried to lose Imperial star destroyers, um, and they're it's just like action the whole way until they get to the Cloud City. I can't remember the name of the Cloud City. Apparently, the Cloud City's name is Cloud City of Bespin. So, Cloud City. But it was awesome because once they get there, you get a little bit of dialogue between Han and his old friend, and then it turns out that the Empire's there and they take over Cloud City, which was great. I loved it, and they freeze Han and the Carbonite, and just give him the Boba Fett. Again, I don't quite understand what's so awesome about Boba Fett. He really didn't do a whole lot throughout the entire movie. I mean, he really didn't. But anyway, it was just a great movie. And then we get the first fight between Luke and Vader in this one, and that was fucking epic. These two, they're battling all over the place, and Vader is just showing like, dude, you are outclassed in every way. He's like flinging shit at him, just kind of waving his hand, and things are flying off the walls. It was great. I loved it. Really, like I said, there's nothing in this movie that would make me sit here and say this was a bad scene, because there wasn't a bad scene in this movie. There really wasn't. So all in all, I know this is a lot shorter than the other movies because I these reviews I generally rant about things I don't like. Yeah, I could go on for, let's see, how long is this movie? Approximately 129 minutes. I could go on 129 minutes about everything I like about this movie. That's how good this movie is. There's very few movies that I sit there and I say, well, there's nothing in there I would change. Star Wars or Transformers, the animated movies, probably pretty close to being one of those. Although I always question why Minosaur and all them weren't in that. Minosaur, Bruticus, and Superion. You'd think that they would want them in that movie, but I know they started they started filming or started drawing. Anyway, wrong movie. There are very few movies that I would sit there and say there's nothing there I would change, and this, quite frankly, is one of them. And in this one, the Lucas edition doesn't take away from anything. It actually adds a little bit to the awesomeness of the movie. So for a rating, I'll give the you know what? Both of them I'm going to give a 10 out of 10. There's nothing else I could say. This movie was awesome. It really was a defining moment in the sci-fi genre where everyone's like, oh, hey, not only can we make good movies, but we can make good sequels too. We don't have to make those sequels that are like direct-to-video, like a lot of other videos. And quite frankly, Attack of the Clones probably should have been a direct-to-video. That movie was bad. So yeah, I give them both 10 out of 10. I would recommend buying this version because it's got both the original and the Lucas version, so you can watch both and enjoy both. Because quite frankly, the theatrical, there's something magical about the theatrical ones. Because I have the original theatrical versions on VHS somewhere that were just digitally remastered in THX, and that was it. They're just digitally remastered. That's it. A little crisper sound, a little crisper color. That was the only change that was made, and that was the only change that was technically needed, because coming from movies from the 70s and 80s, it really did need to be touched up a little bit, but you didn't need to add in all those extra scenes. And the trilogy was just, I mean, like I said, there's something magical about it. And it's just like you watch that and you just sit there and you're like, wow. And so that, I mean, that's what I would recommend if you don't own this. I would track down the theatrical one. The Lucas versions, like I said, for this one, it added more to the story and made it good. Made it a hair better, but it really isn't. It's not a make or break deal, honestly. So, anyway, that is Empire Strikes Back.